It seems like AI is everywhere these days.
Yeah.
It's like every time you turn around, it's popping up in some new field, like even art.
Right.
And it's not just about replacing us humans, though.
No.
It's becoming like this partner in the creative process.
Definitely.
So today we're going to take a deep dive into how AI is transforming photography.
Cool.
We've got this blog post by Steves Jr.
Okay.
He's a photographer who's been like exploring all the potential of ChatGPT.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So have you ever like sat down to plan a photo shoot
Yeah.
and just felt totally stuck?
Oh, yeah.
Like your creative well has just run dry.
All the time.
Yeah. Well, as Steves Jr., he actually talks about using ChatGPT as a kind of photographic muse.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's not like ChatGPT is like dictating the shot.
Right.
It's more like you're using its vast knowledge base to get past those mental blocks that we all hit.
I see.
You know?
Yeah.
Think about it. ChatGPT has like ingested mountains of text and code.
So it can make connections between these seemingly totally unrelated concepts.
Right.
That our brains sometimes struggle to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Like it can help us think outside the box.
So it's kind of like having a friend
Yeah.
who's read every photography book and seen every photo ever taken.
Exactly.
And they're just like throwing out all these wild ideas.
Exactly.
Just waiting for something to click.
Yeah, and because it's AI, you don't have to worry about like feeling silly
Oh, that's true.
or holding back.
Right.
You could throw out the most outlandish prompt
Yeah.
and just see what it comes back with.
See what happens.
Let's say you're trying to come up with something unique for an urban night shoot.
Okay.
You could ask it something like, suggest 5 creative ideas for urban photography at night
Okay.
that incorporate reflections and unusual perspectives.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot more specific than just like asking for urban photography ideas.
It is.
It forces the AI to think a bit more outside the box.
Right. But the cool thing is it doesn't just stop at inspiration. This blog post gets into how you can use ChatGPT to go deeper into the planning stages.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not just about getting those cool ideas.
Right.
It's about using those prompts to get really specific advice.
Exactly.
Like imagine being able to say,
Yeah.
what kind of lens and settings would be ideal for capturing motion blur in a low light cityscape shot?
Whoa.
You're basically getting tailored technical advice
Wow.
that can totally elevate your work.
So it's like having a personal tutor for like every aspect of photography.
Totally.
From that initial spark of an idea
Yeah.
all the way to the technical execution.
Exactly.
But, you know, the thing is, a lot of us get tripped up by just the sheer volume of options when it comes to editing software.
Oh, for sure.
It can be totally overwhelming.
Totally. This is where I think AI can really shine in post-production.
Okay.
Like it can level the playing field. You know, like imagine you're trying to achieve this specific style of color grading.
Okay.
But you just can't quite get it right.
Right.
So instead of getting lost in tons of tutorials,
Yeah.
you can just ask ChatGPT to walk you through the process step by step.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
As Steves Jr. uses this example of wanting to replicate the color palette of a specific film stock.
Okay.
And he actually asks ChatGPT, how can I emulate the look of Kodak Portra 400 film in Lightroom?
Wow.
And ChatGPT gives him this breakdown of like the exact adjustments he needs to make.
That's incredible.
So cool.
Think about how powerful that is.
Yeah.
It's not just about fixing like basic problems. It's about getting that artistic edge.
Yeah.
It's almost like having access to the thought process of a professional colorist.
Right.
You know?
And it's not even limited to a specific piece of software.
Right.
You could theoretically ask it to break down a technique for like any editing program.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
It's like having this universal translator for the language of photo editing.
I love that.
And that accessibility is key.
Yeah.
Because it lets photographers spend less time like wrestling with the software.
Right.
And more time focusing on the art itself.
Exactly.
You know, okay, so we've covered generating ideas,
Yep.
planning the shoot, and even like demystifying the editing process.
Yeah.
But there's one element of photography that I think is often overlooked.
Oh.
And Steves Jr. really dives into it in this blog post.
Okay, what is it?
Lighting.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is where the real magic happens in photography.
For sure.
Light can completely transform a scene.
Absolutely.
And understanding how to manipulate it is just a total game changer.
Yeah.
What's exciting is that ChatGPT can actually help bridge the gap between like the theoretical knowledge and the practical application.
That's so cool.
So he uses this really fascinating example.
Oh, okay.
He asks, How do I create a split lighting effect using natural light and a reflector? Interesting.
It's not just about knowing what split lighting is.
Right.
It's about getting concrete advice on how to actually achieve it.
I see.
And think about how this can be applied to all sorts of lighting situations.
Yeah.
You could ask about like using hard light to create dramatic shadows,
Yeah.
or diffusing light for a softer look.
Totally.
It's like having a lighting expert on call 247,
That would be awesome.
ready to answer any question you have.
I know, right?
So we've seen how AI can be your brainstorming partner,
Yep.
your technical advisor,
Uh-huh.
and even your lighting guru.
Uh-huh.
But there's one more layer to this that really blew my mind.
Really?
Steve Jr. talks about using ChatGPT to take your photography beyond just pretty pictures
Okay.
and into the realm of visual storytelling.
Oh, wow.
That's what elevates photography from documentation to art.
Totally.
You know, the ability to evoke emotions and convey narratives.
Yeah.
Think about it. A single image can be striking, but a series of images,
Right.
carefully curated and sequenced,
Yeah.
can tell a story that unfolds over time.
That's powerful.
It is.
I love photo essays.
Me too.
They can be so captivating.
Yeah, so he gives a great example of this.
Okay.
Let's say you're planning a photo essay on a historical city.
Right.
Instead of just shooting random landmarks,
Yeah.
you could ask ChatGPT,
Uh-huh.
suggest a visual storytelling approach for a trip through historical places focusing on the theme of passage of time.
Ooh.
And that would be like your theme for the whole essay.
That's a great idea.
What's brilliant about that is that it forces you to think beyond individual shots
Right.
and consider how they work together to create a cohesive narrative.
I see.
It's like having a co-writer for your visual story.
That's awesome.
It's like taking all these beautiful images and weaving them together into a tapestry.
Yeah.
That's more than the sum of its parts.
Totally.
And that's where the real power of AI comes in.
I agree.
It's not just about making things easier. It's about pushing us to think differently,
Yeah.
to see the world through new eyes.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so exciting.
It is.
We're just scratching the surface of what's possible when you combine human creativity with the power of AI.
I know, it's mind-blowing.
It's about finding that sweet spot where technology becomes a tool for artistic expression,
Yes,
not a replacement for it.
totally.
Wait.
I think that's a perfect place to pause for a moment.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground already,
We have.
but there's so much more to explore.
Can't wait.
So we'll be right back with more of our deep dive into AI and the future of photography after a quick break.
Sounds good.
We've been talking about how AI can help with like all the steps in the photographic process,
Yeah.
from brainstorming to lighting.
Right.
But I'm curious to dig a bit deeper into the post-production side of things.
Okay.
Steve Jr. mentioned some really interesting ideas about using ChatGPT for like advanced editing techniques.
Oh, yeah. It really opens up a world of possibilities. You can move beyond just like basic adjustments and start experimenting with techniques that would have been like incredibly time consuming or even impossible before.
Yeah.
Think about things like selective color grading,
Okay.
creating complex textures,
Right.
or even generating like unique special effects, all with the help of AI.
So it's like having a whole suite of digital art tools
Yeah,
right at your fingertips.
exactly.
As Steve Jr. gives this really cool example of using AI to recreate the hazy, dreamlike look of a specific vintage lens.
Oh, wow.
He literally asks ChatGPT, how can I emulate the soft focus and halation effect of a Meyer optic trioplan lens in Photoshop?
Okay.
And gets like a step-by-step guide.
That's so cool.
It's amazing.
What's fascinating here is that it goes beyond just mimicking a style.
Right.
It's about understanding the underlying principles of how that effect is achieved.
I see.
So you could apply that same knowledge to create variations or even completely new effects. It's like learning the secret language of an image.
And it also kind of democratizes these techniques, right?
Totally.
It used to be that you had to spend years mastering complex software to achieve certain looks.
Oh, yeah.
And now you can just ask AI to walk you through it.
It removes that technical barrier
Yeah.
and lets photographers of all skill levels just experiment and push their boundaries.
Right.
And that kind of creative exploration is essential for any art form to evolve.
I agree.
You know.
Steve Jr. also touches on the idea of using AI to stay ahead of the curve in terms of trends.
Oh, interesting.
He talks about how he uses ChatGPT to research emerging styles in photography
Okay.
and experiment with incorporating them into his work.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal trend spotter, constantly scanning the horizon for what's next.
Yeah.
That's crucial in a field like photography, which is constantly evolving.
Yeah. AI can help you stay informed about new techniques, aesthetic approaches,
Yep.
even broader cultural shifts that might influence the way we see and capture the world.
For sure.
So we've talked about how AI can be your muse,
Yeah.
your tutor,
Yeah.
your digital darkroom assistant,
Right.
even your trend forecaster. But there's one aspect we haven't really touched on yet,
Okay.
and it's a big one.
What's that?
The relationship between AI and human creativity.
Oh, yeah, that's the question on everyone's mind.
It is.
Is AI going to replace artists?
Right.
Will it diminish human creativity?
Yeah. Is it a threat?
I think it's important to remember that AI, at least in its current form, is a tool.
Okay.
It's not making art on its own.
Right.
It's responding to prompts and instructions from a human.
So it's more about collaboration than competition.
Exactly. Think of it like this. A painter needs brushes and paint to create a masterpiece.
Okay.
AI is like a new set of brushes, maybe with some incredibly cool and innovative features.
I like that.
But it's still the artist who chooses the colors, decides on the composition,
Yeah.
and brings their unique vision to the canvas.
That makes sense.
You know?
It's not about the tool itself.
Yeah.
But how it's used.
Exactly.
And Aziz Jr. actually makes a really interesting point about how AI can actually help us to be more creative, not less.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How so?
He argues that by taking over some of the more technical and repetitive tasks, AI frees up photographers to focus on the conceptual side of their work.
Oh, I see.
They can spend more time thinking about the story they want to tell, the emotions they want to evoke,
Right.
the message they want to convey.
So instead of getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty of editing,
Exactly.
you can spend that time refining your vision.
Yeah.
Or experimenting with different creative approaches.
That's powerful.
It's like clearing your mental workspace so you can focus on the big picture.
Yeah.
And that's where the real magic happens.
Right.
It's in that space where human intuition and imagination intersect with the raw processing power of AI.
That brings up a really interesting point, how this impacts the way we think about photography as an art form.
Right.
Like if AI can handle so much of the technical side, does that change the way we value the creative input of the photographer?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
Some might argue that it diminishes the role of the photographer, reducing them to mere prompt engineers.
Right.
But I think it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
The ability to craft an effective prompt to guide the AI toward a desired outcome, that's a skill in itself.
It's almost like a new form of visual language.
Oh, no.
You're not just pressing a button.
Right.
You're communicating your vision through a series of prompts and parameters.
Exactly.
And that requires a deep understanding of the tools, the subject matter, and the desired aesthetic.
It's not about relinquishing control.
Yeah.
It's about finding new ways to express your creativity through a different medium.
That's a fascinating way to think about it.
It's not about AI versus human.
Right. It's about finding those points of intersection where the two can work together to create something truly unique.
This has been an incredible conversation so far.
It has.
But before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to our listener.
Okay.
What's like the one key message you'd want them to take away from this exploration of AI in photography?
I'd say don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
Don't let the technology intimidate you.
Good advice.
Think of AI as a partner in your creative journey.
I love that.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, there's something here for everyone.
That's a great point.
You know?
It's about being curious.
Yeah.
Open-minded. And willing to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be back in a moment to wrap up our deep dive into this exciting new frontier of photography. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into how AI is shaping the world of photography.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation.
From generating ideas to mastering complex editing techniques, it feels like AI is opening up a whole new realm of possibilities.
It really does.
And what's remarkable is how accessible these tools are becoming.
That's true.
You don't need to be a tech wizard or have a fancy studio to experiment with AI.
Right. It's about empowering anyone with a camera to push their creative boundaries.
Exactly, regardless of their experience level.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Some people might be listening to this and thinking, okay, this AI stuff sounds cool.
Right.
But how does it actually translate to real-world photography?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine you're a travel photographer.
Right.
You're exploring a bustling bucket in a foreign country, And the light is just hitting the scene in this magical way.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You grab your camera, but then you freeze.
Oh, no.
You've seen a million photos of markets and you're struggling to find a fresh angle.
I've been there.
A new way to capture the energy and vibrancy of this place.
It's that classic photographer's dilemma.
It is.
Being in an incredible location, but feeling stuck in a creative rut.
Exactly, and that's where AI can step in.
Okay, how so?
Imagine pulling out your phone.
Yep.
Typing a prompt into ChatGPT, like, suggest 3 unique compositional approaches for photographing a crowded market scene.
Okay.
Focusing on conveying a sense of motion and vibrant colors.
Got it.
And getting back 3 distinct ideas that you might never have considered on your own.
It's like having a creative brainstorming session right there in the moment.
Exactly. You can take those suggestions, adapt them to your own style, and suddenly you're seeing the scene through a fresh lens.
And it's not just about finding new angles.
Right.
Think about all the technical challenges that come with travel photography.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with harsh sunlight, capturing moving subjects, getting that perfect depth of field.
AI can be your guide through those technical hurdles as well.
So it's not about replacing the photographer's eye or intuition.
No, not at all.
It's about augmenting those skills, giving you more tools to work with.
Precisely. It's like having a virtual assistant.
I like that analogy.
Whispering creative and technical advice in your ear.
Love it.
Helping you to navigate the complexities of capturing the perfect shot.
And that's really what this all comes down to, isn't it?
What's that?
Empowering photographers to translate their vision into reality.
Absolutely.
So if someone is listening to this and they're feeling inspired to experiment with AI in their own photography, where would you suggest they start?
I'd say the best way to start is simply to play.
Good.
Don't be afraid to experiment.
Good advice.
Try out different prompts, explore various AI tools, and just see what sparks your imagination.
I love that.
There are so many resources available online.
Yes.
From tutorials to communities where photographers are sharing their experiences and ideas.
It's a great time to be a photographer.
It really is.
It's about approaching AI with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn. And who knows, you might just stumble upon a new technique or style that completely transforms your photography.
The key is to remember that AI is a tool, not a crutch.
It's there to help you push your creative boundaries, to explore new ideas, and ultimately to become a better photographer.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation.
It really has.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a truly exciting era in photography, and it's inspiring to see how AI is playing a role in shaping that future.
It's a future where creativity knows no bounds.
I love that.
And where the only limit is our own imagination.
Well said. And to our listeners out there, we encourage you to embrace that future.
Yeah, go for it.
Dive into the world of AI and photography.
Experiment, explore.
And see where your creativity takes you.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was